Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to answer a question I get asked a lot. Does my wood really need to be kiln dried? My answer might surprise you. Stick around. So I know you're probably thinking, well, he runs kilns for a living. Of course he's going to say the wood needs to be kiln dried. Well, maybe not. I was loading up this load of maple slabs here, big old maple slabs that I'm drying. And honestly, I've been playing the Nile kiln shuffle here for a little bit, loading and unloading kilns. And two things popped into my head. Number one, I gotta do some weed whacking here. That'll get done in the next couple days. Second thing, just had this idea for this video because this is a question I've been asked a lot. I do a lot of custom work here. Custom drawing, custom tongue and groove, planing, you name it. And so a lot of times customers are supplying wood to me to further process. And it's a discussion we have all the time. You know, they ask, well, does my wood really need to be kiln dried? Well, you would think the answer would be yes, or that I would push for the answer to be yes, but it's not always the case. So let's get this stuff in the kiln and let's get out of the wind a little bit so we can get some actual good audio on this video. It's gonna be some pretty neat looking stuff, isn't it? Some spalted maple. It's not mine, I'm just custom drawing it. So you would think I'm in the kiln business. I'm gonna tell you, yeah, you need to dry your wood. Most of the time you'd be right, but you know, I'm just like everybody else. You work hard for your money, you don't want to waste it. So I would never recommend to a customer to pay for a service they don't need. So let's start with the obvious things that you would definitely kiln dry 100% of the time. Hardwood flooring, kitchen cabinets, fine furniture. Basically, I can boil it down to you like this. If you're going to use it inside your house in a climate controlled space, you're going to want it kiln dried. To back up to the basics, the point of kiln drying, we dry out all the moisture in the wood pre-shrinks, it becomes stable. When you have green lumber, like, well, these slabs are an extreme example, it's filled with water. If you took that into your house, it would get moldy, it would shrink, it would twist, it would turn, it would cup. Bugs would be attracted to it. All bad things would happen. So a lot of people will air dry lumber, which drives out 90% of the moisture and makes it more stable, so you don't have to worry about the defects and all that. It does not eliminate the bug issue, and outside you will never dry enough to be able to take it into your house and have it be stable. In other words, the humidity outside, now if you live in the desert, this may not be true, but at least here I'm speaking from my experience in the Northeast. If you take wood inside that's air dried, I don't care if it's air dried a year, 5 years, 10 years, Your equilibrium moisture content of lumber outside air dried is 10 to 12%. Most people in their homes, especially in the winter, now in the summer also because of central air, it keeps the air in your house drier. The moisture content, the correct moisture content for your house should be 6 to 8%. So it doesn't seem like a big deal. And for some things it's not. To be 100% honest with you, if that was a well air dried slab there and you made a big bench or table out of it, you could probably pull it off. Because if that shrinks a little bit, you're not going to know. Where you get into trouble is anytime you have any kind of joinery. So when you think of cabinet doors, when you think of hardwood flooring, when you think of furniture, all those parts are connected with each other in relationship. So if they start shrinking, you start getting gaps. Joints start pulling apart, flooring gets gaps in it, tabletops buckle, glue joints break, all bad things. So that's why whenever you're doing an interior project, you want the stuff as close to the moisture content in your house as possible. And the other big thing that most people overlook, you want the stuff sterilized to kill any bugs that may be in the wood, particularly powder post beetle. Just so happens these logs have been sitting a while before they were sawed and brought to me. They're brought to me as slabs, and you can see there's definitely some powder post in here. So we'll sterilize this and we'll kill that powder post beetle. That's the other reason you don't want to just use green or air dried lumber in your house. You're risking an infestation of bugs. So that's the number one thing I will say. Yes, always kiln dry interior finely finished goods or goods that have joinery. Now, what are some things you wouldn't have to kiln dry? Well, take a walk with me. Trailer decking. Wouldn't necessarily have to kiln dry it. A lot of times guys use oak for trailer decking, and it's much easier to work with green, if I'm being totally honest with you. It's a lot easier to screw it, drill it, run bolts through it, however you're fastening it. It'll stay straight or green, lock it in place, let it dry in place. If you put the boards tight, when it shrinks, you'll get some gaps for the dirt and water to shed through. Most of the time I recommend green for trailer decking. Let's take a look at another example. Board and batten siding. Now this you could go either way, and you could make an argument, and I usually lay it out to my customers either way. This you can put up green. This is why it was designed as board and batten, to be put up green. Because obviously what you do, you put your boards on first, then you come back and you nail your battens over top of it. Why was it designed this way? Because the old timers knew wood moved. They didn't have kilns. They knew if they just butted boards up, they would shrink and they'd get gaps. And sometimes the old hay barns, that's what they wanted for airflow. But if they wanted something sealed tight, they'd come back and put an oversized strip over it. And when those boards shrank, they still had coverage. It was still tight. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with putting your board and batten siding up green and letting it dry in place. Now, why might you want to kiln dry it and take advantage of a modern convenience? Well, because then you can paint or stain it right away. If you were going to put this stuff up green, I would tell you should let it sit at least a few weeks to a few months and then paint it. Because if you try to paint green wood or stain it, you're going to get poor results. You're probably going to have an adhesion failure. So I've done plenty of this both ways for people. I've sent it out green, I've sent it out kiln dried. All depends how much money you want to get into it and also how much time you have. So that's one of those that could go either way. Another common thing people ask me about, raised bed garden beds, lumber for that. Every spring I get calls for that. Don't kiln dry that. There's no need to. Basically anything you're going to use for outdoor structure or anything like that, kiln drying is overkill. The big advantage, like I said, you can paint or finish it right away. It does make a lot of woods harder to work with, and by that I mean it makes it harder to nail, screw, machine the wood than when it's green. But kiln drying would allow you to paint or finish it right away. But it's not absolutely necessary, because when you think about it, you're going to dry that wood down to 6-8%. What's the first thing going to do when you put it outside? It's going to pick up moisture. So you're back to square one with that. So maybe I've made this as clear as mud for you, but I mean, my bottom line is I always try to work through stuff with the customer, figure out what their goals are, and I would never say to somebody you absolutely have to do something. You know, I can give them all the information and they can make the final decision. But no, I think a lot of people, like with a lot of things today, they think, well, there's one way and it has to be done. No, there's some flexibility, just like everything else, you know. So you don't absolutely have to kiln dry your lumber. It just all depends on the application, and like anything else, it's all about just knowing why you are or aren't going to do something, and you know, just using the resources to figure out you know, what makes sense, what doesn't, what's the most cost effective, that I'm not wasting money, or I'm not shortchanging myself by skipping a step I should do. So just a quick little video. Hopefully maybe that makes somebody think, or save them some money, or maybe saves them some headache. So I'll catch you guys later. See ya.